New
Oh,
team.
we're live.
We're live.
We're live. We're live. Hello, Benjamin.
Fourth string coming at you. How
Yeah,
you doing?
with the glitter fingers, or whatever that was. Is that what that's called? Is that called glitter fingers?
I don't know, man. Spirit fingers. There you go.
Spirit fingers. That's what
The
glitter
the
fingers.
season has started.
Put
Week
glitter on
0
them,
is
and then they're
past
glitter
us.
spirit fingers.
Well,
Week
it could be
0 is
glittered.
past us.
I'll get some glitter for week 1 because technically college football hasn't officially started. We just
No,
have
no,
2
no.
games.
Stop with this nonsense. Okay, we're gonna get out in front of this right
ESPN
now. Benjamin,
says
Benjamin,
that we haven't hit week 1 yet.
did you partake in any of the games yesterday?
I looked
know
at the
answer to
scores.
this. There it is. There it is. So no, college football did start yesterday,
I just
but
missed
the
it.
co-host of a college football exclusive podcast did not watch any of the games. But he was dealing with a flood. Ben, you've had like a number of house problems.
Yes. I got the HVAC fixed this week
Okay.
and
It was
fixed the
AC a
flood.
couple weeks ago when we were on here, and now
Yeah.
you're dealing with the flood. Do you know there's this amazing store, and I don't know if you've ever heard about it, but
Called
it's
the Home Depot?
specifically Home Depot. You ever heard about it?
Yeah. I think I've been there a few times.
Okay, yeah, great store if you ever need to like fix your home.
I have literally been there many times this week.
Ben works at Home Depot for those of you that are new to the show.
Store support center, but I've also been to many stores this week as well.
Oh,
So,
good.
Yeah.
Good. Can't get enough of the place.
Oh man, I'm just bleed orange.
Wait, hold on. Have you ever stepped foot in a Lowe's like in the past year?
Yes, I walk Lowe's competitively all the time.
Oh, well, I mean, like, have you ever shopped at Lowe's? Yeah.
No.
Okay. I had to figure this out. See, if you're just joining us, it takes us a solid like 7 minutes to actually start talking football.
Yeah, we're only 2 minutes in.
This is the normal stuff you have to put up with.
Fun thing is, we've been on here for 15 minutes already. So
that is true. Yeah. It takes us 15 minutes of talking nonsense
to get started.
6 to really get into it. So, anyways, you guys are getting the good stuff, I promise. All right. So Ben did not watch yesterday. All I did yesterday was watch college football. Literally,
chili?
2:30. No chili. It was 90 degrees here.
That's true.
I can eat chili when it's 90 degrees. Not even like Wendy's chili.
It was incredibly hot.
Yeah. So I watched literally yesterday 2:30 until like 11 o'clock last night. I was watching college football. The only game I couldn't watch was USC and San Jose State. Now I had no problem watching Jacksonville State play
UTEP.
UTEP. Oh yeah. Great game. I mean, great game. Great ending to a game. Get to watch that. But number 1 quarterback in the country, could not watch him because the Pac-12. I got to tell you, we kind of mourned them a few weeks ago. After yesterday,
I didn't mourn them.
After yesterday, like
done with them.
I don't. Yeah,
I'm glad they're dying.
Get them if you can't put your flagship program in the conference on TV for everybody to see, where you're literally the only game at night. That's it. There wasn't anything else going on. What else are you doing? More people watch San Diego State than USC.
Well, the Pac-12 thinks that they have a monopoly over this, and they're going to try to cash in as much as they can before they go to nothing.
Yeah.
So
it amazes me that people who keep telling us how academic and smart they are keep getting outsmarted by other people. Like,
I mean, the Big Ten is more academically intelligent than anyone in the Pac-12.
I mean, I think the Pac-12 views themselves as premier to the Big Ten academically. I wouldn't agree with it, but I think they do.
What?
I mean, Stanford, Cal Berkeley,
Northwestern,
right?
Michigan.
Yeah. No, Ben, I agree with you. I'm telling you, I think the perception in the Pac-12 is they view themselves academically as superior to the Big Ten. I don't agree with it, but I think that is the perception. But regardless, all of those smart programs, like yesterday, Vanderbilt, they've got a video board, a video board that is swaying in the wind. The thing could have collapsed. Like, it's the craziest thing. Not to mention, like, Nashville is like, you're in Nashville. there is this stadium that the Tennessee Titans play in. You couldn't have figured out a way to play your game there. Like, just perplexed by it. So now I did watch.
That costs money, and they have a field. So like, just hang up a scoreboard and throw around a pigskin.
So it is the only stadium I've ever seen. They are going to play a full slate of games in a stadium that is full on under construction. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, they never filled the stadium anyway, so I don't even know why they're doing construction on it.
That is another great point. Yeah. For the smart people over at Vandy, please tell us what you guys are thinking. Let's talk some actual college football. So I have a revised top 10. Just gonna go and put that out there. After yesterday, I have completely revised my top 10. Do we want to talk USC first, Ben, or Notre Dame first?
Well, is that part of your revised top 10?
Yeah. I mean, none of the other teams played, so I can't revise the other teams, but Notre Dame and USC, yes.
Yep. Let's go with a higher ranked team. Let's go with Notre Dame. Or no, they're not higher.
USC.
Let's go with USC.
Okay. So I put this on X. I keep wanting to call it Twitter. I put this on X.
Put them on blast. You put them on blast is what you did.
I just said before the game started, I said, and I do think this is true, Ben, like especially when these early season games, like Auburn's going to play UMass on Saturday.
Hey,
right?
UMass looked good.
UMass did look good. It's not if Auburn wins or loses, it's how they win, right? There's certain things I think you're looking for in that game. Like I think for Auburn in particular, you want to know you're going to be good at quarterback because that was your biggest struggle last year. Like who's taking over at quarterback? Are we actually going to be competent at quarterback? Those are things you're starting to look at, right? Do you have a pass rush? Like for Auburn, and I mean, I think any resemblance of talent at this point would be a welcome change. But I think specifically Auburn fans looking at quarterback. And so for USC going into yesterday, I said, we all know Caleb Williams is great. We all know Lincoln Riley's a great schemer. But what we don't know is the defense. Is the defense actually improved? And Ben, I watched that game yesterday. If USC had won 31-10, even if Caleb Williams had come out and thrown a pick or two, I'd have no problem. I would keep USC where I had them. But Ben, they came out and Caleb Williams looked great, but the defense looked absolutely awful. There was a 3rd and 22. And San Jose State converted it on a quarterback scramble. Like, do you understand how bad you have to be to allow that to happen? And like San Jose State was a good group of 5 team last year. They went 7-5. But Ben, they were one of the worst offensive teams in the country last year. Their running game ranked like 111th in the country a year ago. And yesterday they ran for almost 200 yards against USC. So Ben, I'm looking at it and my thought is Oregon can run the ball. Washington can run the ball. USC can run Utah can run the ball with their quarterback and their running backs. Like Oregon State can run the ball. Washington State can run the ball. You're in a conference where teams are going to be able to run the ball. If this is going to be an issue for USC all season, I don't see any way in the world they're making the playoff. Like
they just outscore teams, like they did yesterday.
They won't outscore a ton of teams.
Yeah,
but you can't outscore 12 teams like that. You can outscore 10, 9. You're not going to outscore 12.
There's been quite a few teams in football history in the past decade that have just outscored teams,
but not to the way where they got into the playoff. Like you have to, if you want to get into the playoff, you have to be a complete team. We've not seen TCU come in and outscore.
Made it into the playoff last year just by outscoring teams.
No, TCU had a decent defense. TCU, I mean, and again, I don't need you to be like a top 10 or top 15 defense. Mm-hmm. I just need you to be competent. And I watch USC, Ben, tackling is all over the place. There's blown coverages, quarterback scrambling for 25 yards on a 3rd and 22. Like, what are you doing? They had a designed blitz package on 3rd and 22, which completely failed. But then on like 2nd and 3, they blitz nobody. They keep everybody back. Like I'm sitting there going, like, I don't even understand how Alex is it Grinch? The defensive
That'd be
coordinator.
amazing. I don't even know who the DC is, so let's
I'm
go with
looking it up
Grinch.
right now. Is it Alex Grinch? It's Alex something. Hold on. I'm looking it up. Defensive coordinator, LSU, Alex Grinch. That is it.
At
So I got it.
USC.
Point for CJ.
Boom.
He was there last year, and it was the same issues. You've had an entire offseason. You have 9 starters returning, and you've improved none?
Well, he does specialize in safeties. So how'd the safeties look?
Not great. Bad. Safeties are supposed to stop the run. They allowed 200 yards from San Jose State. The good news is USC doesn't get a tough game until October 14th. I mean, they've got Nevada, Stanford. Both of those are going to be at home, though that home crowd didn't look great yesterday. At Arizona State, who's on a bowl ban. At Colorado, who maybe I don't think they're as good as everybody else thinks they're going to be, but they might be okay. And then Arizona. And then the October 14th is really where things get going. They're going to go at Notre Dame. Ben, I think Caleb Williams is going to outscore a bunch of people. USC is going to win a bunch of games. I do not think that is a playoff team after watching them yesterday, unless that defense between now and October 14th gets, and I mean, it can't just be a little bit better. They've got to completely change gears. I don't think there's any way USC is in the playoff. That was my biggest disappointment of the day. And I mean, I was watching highlights. I couldn't actually watch the game, but I was watching highlights of the game. It was evident pretty early in that game.
So after USC doubled the score of their opponent, you say they can't make the playoffs. They doubled the score.
I don't care that they doubled
the other team would have had to have another 60 minutes in order to just tie the game. Without USC playing offense.
It goes back to how did you win? Again, I would have preferred they win 31-10 by a smaller margin, but the defense looks good. But they didn't do that. And you're not going to double up Utah, and you're not going to double up Washington, and you're not going to double up Oregon. And those teams aren't going to make mistakes like San Jose State did. And those teams are going to get pressure onto Caleb Williams. And I mean, let's be clear too, Ben. Caleb Williams is great, but he's in a conference with a ton of other really good quarterbacks. So the edge that you gain with him as your quarterback, I think is greatly diminished when Bo Nix is in your conference, when Michael Penix is in your conference, when Cam Rising's in your conference.
No, I got it.
Shedeur Sanders is in your conference.
They need to have a competent defense that can stop teams. But, I mean, granted, neither of us watched this game. However, if you're looking at the box score, USC won or tied every quarter. They won the first quarter 7-0. They tied the second quarter 14-all. The first half they were up 21-14. Then they won the third quarter 21-7 and the fourth quarter 14-7. So, like, yeah, they let San Jose State get a 3rd and 22 and continue a drive and score 4 touchdowns. But USC, as far as their offense, was clicking. And their defense was okay.
Here's the problem, Ben. October 14th, they're going to go at Notre Dame. And I watched Notre Dame yesterday.
Incredible transition. Incredible transition.
Is that not great?
Oh, man.
That's professional.
I got chills
There.
That was awesome.
And then we go off on a tangent about how good the transition is. So
it's 4th string, baby.
There we go. So I watched Notre Dame yesterday. Ben, I came into the year with very low expectations for Notre Dame. I didn't have them in my top 10. I had them around 15th when I filled out my entire list. I think they're really good, but after watching them play yesterday, Ben, I think they're amazing. This feels like, I don't really know how to put it. Maybe I think it's a poor man's version of 2019 LSU. Like transfer quarterback comes in and absolutely lights it up.
Sam Hartman was amazing.
Incredible. But here's the other.
His entire career, he's been amazing.
Oh, yeah. But he's been throwing to Wake Forest receivers. And now he gets to throw to Notre Dame receivers. A little bit of a step up, my friend.
Oh, yeah. A little bit of a step up, a lot more visibility, 4 touchdowns on the day. Wild.
Oh, I mean, flawless. And so Notre Dame, their offensive line, top 5 in the country, easy. And I know they're playing against Navy, but Navy will punch you in the mouth up front. They've been known to do that. And Notre Dame pushed them around all 4 quarters. And so to end my thought on USC, which I will talk more about Notre Dame here in a minute, Notre Dame's offensive line, had they played USC yesterday, Notre Dame could have won time of possession 45 minutes to 15. Like just flat out.
USC still would have scored like 8 touchdowns in 15 minutes, though.
No, USC would have maybe scored 28 points. Notre Dame would have scored 40. Like Notre Dame would have ran up and down USC all day long had they played yesterday. This offensive line got such an amazing push the entire game. And Audric Estime, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that name. He looked amazing. But Ben, if you watch this first drive, and I was really interested to see how did they do in the first drive and how do they do second half adjustments? Because remember, Notre Dame and Navy played last year, and Notre Dame got off to this big lead, and Navy came right back, and Navy nearly won. It was 35-32. But I think Notre Dame went up like 35-0 at one point. So I wanted to see how would Notre Dame come out to open the game, and how would their second half adjustments be? Because that's what Marcus Freeman struggled with all last year was second half adjustments. First drive of the game went like almost 8 minutes. Like almost, I mean, it was just flawless. It was just convert third downs, 10-yard pass plays, 5-yard run plays, doing everything the right way. And then second half, they made a couple of adjustments and they started getting more aggressive on offense. And Navy had literally no chance. That was the absolute best game Notre Dame could have played to start off the year. And so, Ben, because of that, now I will tell you, I think Notre Dame's struggle that I'm a little bit concerned with. I don't think Notre Dame is as great on the outside, on the perimeter, as some of these other teams. Like Notre Dame moved Chris Tyree from running back over to slot receiver. And granted, he's good, but like, I don't think he matches up with what Clemson has at wide receiver, or Georgia has at wide receiver, or USC has at wide receiver. That's where I think Notre Dame's struggle is going to be. But front 7, they are going to crush a lot of teams. So, Ben, here's my updated top 10. I want you to critique this. Okay. Now, very little of this is changing. Okay. So if a team didn't play, I've not really adjusted where I had them per se.
Okay? You just swapped out USC and Notre Dame?
Not completely, because I didn't have Notre Dame in my top 10 at all.
So, yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying.
Michigan's number 1, Georgia's number 2, Bama 3, Clemson is going up to number 4,
okay,
LSU 5, Notre Dame 6. Ohio State 7th, USC 8th, Florida State 9th, Utah 10th. Okay.
Ooh.
Now,
so who dropped out?
Texas A&M, because they were 10th. So they fell. But I'd have them 11th. I still think Texas A&M is great.
Best update of the year.
I still think they're great. And yes,
8-4.
If you beat Navy, it's good enough to move you up 9 spots.
What's the way you beat Navy, right? It should have been a shutout. If it wasn't for a field goal in the last 3 minutes of the game, it would have been a shutout.
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. So I think USC, their defense, like Ohio State's defense is bad, but Ohio State's defense has been competent. And I expect year 2, that defensive coordinator coming back, forget his name, but I know he coached at Duke, so I know who he is. He comes back for his second year. Ohio State's defense is going to be better. It just is. right? So I think Ohio State, they've got a competent defense. I think the offense will be figured out. I don't think it's going to be as good as USC, but still good. The receivers there are amazing. USC just doesn't have a defense. I mean, they literally don't. Out of those top 10 teams, USC would have the worst defense out of any of those teams in the top 10. And I think Georgia's offense can go toe to toe with USC's. I think Michigan's offense can go toe to toe with USC's. LSU's might be able to. LSU's going to have an explosive offense. We're going to find that out on, I think it's Sunday night they play Florida State, which will be a great game. So yeah, I've got Notre Dame, Ben, number 6.
Look, I have more of an issue with you putting Clemson in the top 4 than I do with you putting Notre Dame in the top 6. Why? Because Clemson looked terrible last year. Clemson still hasn't figured out. Look, yeah, did they still win the ACC?
No.
Yeah. So did not win the ACC. Looked piss poor. Got beat by South Carolina in the season. Still haven't figured out their defense after losing whatever his name is at Oklahoma.
I'm wrong about that. They did. They beat North Carolina in the ACC championship. Sorry about that. They did win them.
So they still won the ACC, but did it by limping. So good for them.
So,
but still, we're putting in a top 10 based on possibility of going to the playoff type deal. And yeah, Clemson is the front runner, but they play FSU. And even though the Pac-12 is trash, as far as a conference goes, they have 4 teams that could potentially make it. And I would say one of them probably has a better chance than Clemson does. So having the first, you don't think so?
No.
Okay.
No, sure. Not at all.
So putting in Notre Dame, a team that doesn't play in a conference, which has always frustrated me, but they will get in one soon. And it probably won't be the ACC. But we'll see.
Insert clip of our NBC buys out the ACC and brings in Notre Dame from a few weeks ago.
Yep. We'll see. It's possible. It would make sense. It'd be a good business move.
It'd be a great business move. So here's the thing about Clemson, though, Ben. Oh, wait. You weren't done.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I can see it in your eyes. I can see it in your luscious eyes that you are not done.
You had who at number 5?
I have LSU at number 5.
All right, that makes total sense.
See, Ben's
is it just because you couldn't put 3 SEC teams in the top 4? Is that your issue?
No. Nope. I think Clemson's the 4th best team in the country.
I still think Ohio State's better than Clemson is.
No. Nope.
Yeah.
So here's the thing about Clemson. First off, Ben said they looked terrible last year. They won 11 games. Okay. Second off, that Florida State team that everybody loves this year, Clemson beat them in their down year at Florida State last year. Okay. So that was Clemson's down year. They went to Florida State. They won that game. Clemson's loss, a 1-point loss to a really good South Carolina team last year. And then they did get shellacked at Notre Dame last year. Those are the only regular season losses they had. They fired their offensive coordinator, Streeter. He's gone. They have brought in Garrett Riley. Do you know who that is?
Lincoln Riley's brother.
Lincoln Riley's brother. He's now the new offensive coordinator. Do you know where he was last year?
USC?
Nope.
Oklahoma?
Nope.
I have no idea.
He was the offensive coordinator for TCU last year.
Ah.
And TCU did what, Ben?
They went to the national title game.
They went to the national title after a year of looking like absolute garbage. Because I can't use other words on here. So now he takes over as offensive coordinator at Clemson. And DJ
Uiagalelei is gone.
Yucky Gangale, whatever we want to call him.
Yucky Uiagalelei.
Can't throw it away. He's gone. and now Cade Klubenik comes in.
Yeah, but Klubenik didn't look great last year.
I don't know if I think he's an upgrade. I don't know how massive of an upgrade. So this may be minor, okay? But I think he's an upgrade. So Clemson upgrades at quarterback, they upgrade at coordinator. Those were their two big issues. And then they have Jeremiah Trotter coming back in at linebacker. Clemson's going to be really good. They get Florida State at home. They get Notre Dame at home. They will go on the road to South Carolina end of the year. But Ben, Clemson might go 11-1. Like they could drop a game, get back to the ACC championship, get revenge on Florida State if they lost to them earlier in the year, and get into the playoff. And I do not see this Clemson team losing more than one game in the regular season.
If you have an 11-1 Georgia or Alabama, because they were both undefeated going into the SEC title game, you have an 11-1 Michigan or Ohio State, and then you have an 11-1 Pac-12 champion, and you have an 11-1 Clemson. Who are you putting in? You're not taking the champions. You're probably taking.
You're not
Michigan.
Taking the champions.
Well, no, because when you have the caliber of teams like Georgia and Alabama, one of them is not going to be undefeated because they have to play each other in the SEC championship game.
Right.
And they are both top tier teams. They're in your
so
top
are you saying though they come into
now.
The championship game 11-1?
No, I'm saying they at the end of the season post championships.
Okay, so they're both 12-1. They come into the game
sure.
undefeated, and then one of them loses.
You have an undefeated Georgia. You have a 12-1 Alabama SEC championship loss. You have an undefeated Michigan. You have a 12-1 Clemson. You have a 12-1 USC.
Okay,
Who are you leaving out? I'm leaving Clemson out.
I think if that happens, but again, I don't think USC is going 12-1. I don't. Now, I do think, Ben, if we get to the end of the year and Georgia wins the SEC and Clemson is 12-1, Michigan's undefeated, so then Georgia and Michigan would take the top two spots. And then you've got Alabama is 12-1, so then they get a spot. And then if Clemson and USC are fighting over the final spot, the committee's going to put USC in because they want to see Caleb Williams in a playoff. 100%. But I don't think there's any way USC is going 12-1. Okay. Zero chance. Zero chance. And they're not beating. I think they're losing.
Saving this clip.
They're going to play Notre Dame, Utah, Oregon, and then they're going to get in Washington, and then they're going to get one of the other three again in the Pac-12 championship game. So that's essentially 5 games total. They'd have to win 4 of them. They aren't doing that. They are not going 4-1 through Notre Dame, Utah, Oregon, Washington, and then Utah, Oregon, and Washington again. But Clemson could beat Florida State at home, could beat Notre Dame at home, could lose on the road to South Carolina, and then beat Florida State again in the ACC championship game. Or not even lose to South Carolina, lose to Florida State in the ACC championship game and still get in.
Oh, that'd be wild. That would be wild.
And again, I'm not like I have Clemson ranked 4th. It's not like I think they're a shoe into the playoff.
Yeah.
I don't think that. But I do think, all right, so let's take my top 10 again. So I've got Michigan 1, Georgia 2. So presumably they're undefeated. They win their conferences, right? Michigan doesn't win the SEC, but I think they go 12-0. They lose to Georgia in the SEC championship game. Hard-fought game. They're right there. And so then the next 2 teams would be Clemson and LSU. Now, like you said, LSU couldn't get in because they'd be the 3rd SEC team.
Yeah.
Right? So then you go to 6, Notre Dame. Again, I like Notre Dame. I don't like them as much as Clemson. if you're giving me Dabo Swinney versus Marcus Freeman, Dabo's the one with playoff experience. Marcus Freeman doesn't have any. That's my fourth best team in the country.
All right. So Notre Dame coming in at number 6. Dark horse. Dark horse without a conference championship game. But they're going to lose to USC, probably to Clemson.
It is interesting. If Notre Dame is 11-1 and Clemson is 11-1, and let's say Notre Dame is ranked 4th and Clemson's ranked 5th, and then Notre Dame knocks off Florida State or UNC, and again, Notre Dame's not playing, right? Does Clemson jump from 5 to 4 and move Notre Dame out of the playoff?
They have one more win, yeah.
So, I mean, like, if that happens...
It'll force Notre Dame to go to a championship game.
Wouldn't it? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it would force them because then they wouldn't have a chance to make it in that scenario in the future.
Yeah.
They would always be the odd man out.
Notre Dame's AD might want to spend more time figuring that out rather than fighting for Calford to join the ACC because 2 premier academic institutions have to be included in a Power 5 conference. All right.
Notre Dame and NBC could start their own conference. Just start adding teams.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, why buy the ACC when you can just start your own? How about you just make it the NBC?
There you go.
You have the SEC, the NBC, the Big Ten.
So I watched UMass and New Mexico State yesterday. Did you watch any of this?
What do you think? I looked at the recap because we play UMass next week. No, I didn't watch any of the game. What happened?
Well, just say this. Jerry Kill, who is the coach over at UMass, coached like he had been interviewing for a SEC job for the past 6 weeks.
I saw that tweet or whatever it is.
Tweet.
That Zeet? What are those called now? Are they still tweets on X?
I have no idea what they are anymore.
I saw that Elon speak.
That post? Is that what we're calling it? Is a post?
That post? That X post?
Yeah.
Man, that sounds dirty.
That does sound dirty.
I saw that X post.
Yeah. Weird. So, no, UMass beat New Mexico State. UMass has been like maybe the worst team in all of FBS football for the past, I don't know, decade or so. I think the last time they beat a FBS team on the road to open their year, I think I saw it was like I think I saw it was like in the 80s or something.
Really?
Yeah. It was something crazy.
They dominated the fourth quarter.
They did. Yeah. I mean, really, they dominated the second half. I thought that was an interesting game. San Diego State, Ohio was another great one that I watched. Vandy and Hawaii, it was entertaining. Other than one ridiculous interception in the end zone from Vandy, that game was just god-awful. I mean, that game was awful. So bad. So bad. All right. You want to preview week 1?
Heck yeah.
All right. Utah and Florida open up
Thursday night.
Utah's a 6.5 point favorite. Game is on ESPN. Ben, who are you taking? Because I think there is tremendous pressure on Billy Napier to win that game. You're taking the Gators?
No, Utah's going to crush them. Utah has had this game circled since they lost this game last year and just a fluke craziness. So Utah is Cam Rising coming back. The team is going to be supercharged. They host the Gators. So Mormontown will be going nuts. And, they should have called it Mormontown. You've got Morgantown and then Mormontown. That'd be pretty cool.
Ooh.
They need to rename the city.
I like it.
You can take that for free, Utah. So, look, hosting Florida. Florida's going to be, jet lagged, and they already aren't the better team. So, yeah, Billy Napier's on a hot seat. I haven't heard anything good come out of Florida in like 2 years. So
did you watch the Florida documentary on Netflix that just came out?
I did not.
No,
I did not know there was one. Gator Nation on Netflix.
Oh yeah, well, it's about Urban Meyer and
Okay.
Tebow. Yeah, I watched part of it. It is a complete Urban Meyer fluff piece.
Okay.
Pretty sure Urban Meyer paid to have it produced. Pretty positive. Him and Dan Mullen, I think, did this together
because it talks him
up too. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of like you get halfway through, you're like, I'm really starting to like Urban Meyer and Dan Mullen, and then you're like, hold on a second.
Wait a second.
Because this whole stupid documentary is tilted for me to like Urban Meyer and Dan Mullen. And then Tim Tebow comes on and he's like, if you don't like Urban Meyer, I don't think you're safe. He didn't really say that. Pretty close. I have to save these for 35 minutes into the podcast.
Oh my god. Okay. That was even better than the ridiculous statement you made 28 minutes in. You've got zingers all night tonight.
Oh, all night. I'm here for them. But I have a theory on this, Ben. You ready for massive conspiracy theory time?
Absolutely.
Okay. In that documentary, they're talking about Urban Meyer's first season at Florida and how they lost to South Carolina, who was coached by, do you know?
Steve Spurrier.
Steve Spurrier. Ding, ding, ding. Right. And they lost to South Carolina their opening year. And Urban Meyer talked about how he thought after that loss that he might lose his job. And I think it was after that loss, or it was maybe another game they lost to. They sat on the tarmac for like an hour and like he literally like cut two players like on the tarmac. They left the plane off the team. But he talked about how he was scared for that job because all the Florida fans had hoped they were going to rehire Steve Spurrier. So now you're starting to maybe see where I'm going with this a little bit. Yeah.
Yep.
So this Urban Meyer fluff piece comes out to completely reshape Urban Meyer's image. I don't think it really did a great job. I think it just kind of came across like, how do you have a team of a bunch of convicts and a preacher? But on that note, I think he was planting a seed. Hey, when you guys get tired of Billy Napier, I'm ready to come back to coach again. And I want to be at Florida. And the whole time he talks about how great the SEC is. Oh, man, there's nothing like there's football and then there's football in the SEC. He never said that kind of stuff at Ohio State, not one time, ever. And now he's all of a sudden starting to echo that Paul Feinbaum stuff, who also shares about 15 minutes in the documentary, which I'm like, why? He wasn't part of Florida. He runs a show on ESPN. Why is he a part of this? Because he's got connections to Florida. That's why he's a part of this. So I think there is tremendous pressure on Billy Napier to go to Utah and win, because if they don't win that in week 3, they're going to get Tennessee. And then in week 5, they're going to go at Kentucky. And there is a good chance they get to that game against Kentucky and they find themselves 2-3 with their only wins against McNeese State, the Racers. No, wait, that's Murray State. McNeese State is the Cowboys. They are based out of Texas. I know that much. McNeese State and Charlotte. They could be 2-3, and those could be their wins. He is fired if that is the case and they lose to Florida. Fired.
Honestly, Billy Napier would probably welcome the golden parachute that getting fired from Florida would give him.
This early?
Well, dude, he would make a ton of money.
That bad? Like, is it that bad?
Well, I don't know. But he's had 2 terrible off seasons. Like, the biggest news coming out of Florida was the fact that they threw like 15 bags of money at a kid, and he took the bags and he was like, nah, these bags aren't heavy enough. And he gave them back. That was the only stuff that I saw out of Florida in the offseason.
They did get Graham Mertz.
Yeah, awesome. The worst quarterback from Wisconsin now came down to Gator Nation. So Excellent. Really good pickup. Look, if I'm Billy Napier right now, I'm like, this fan base is crazy. I haven't necessarily performed to my potential in the first year. Probably just going to get fired, cash in that huge buyout that I have, and then I'll go somewhere where they actually want to build a program, and we'll have a great time and be incredibly rich with a yacht and a mansion.
Do you think they would rehire Urban Meyer?
Yes.
You do?
Yes, I do. And I think they'd bring back Tebow as like some coach on the team or something. Maybe the chaplain.
Team chaplain. There it is. Yeah. We jinxed on chaplain. That is the epitome of the podcast, is that Ben and I jinxed on chaplain.
Yep. There you go. It's a word you don't typically speak.
It's not. No. No, I think the game at Utah to open up the year is massive. I do want to see how Graham Mertz plays. I mean, I think it's possible Graham Mertz is way better than he was at Wisconsin. I always thought he was super talented, and I've always thought Wisconsin's coaching staff is inept, to say the least. So maybe he actually lives up to what we thought he was going to be. And they've got Trevor Etienne, who's amazing. So I mean, and there's all the expectations are on Utah to win that game. So I mean, Florida could go in, nothing to lose, really creative game plan, and maybe they pull it off. But if they don't,
why did Trevor go to Florida over Clemson?
You have to ask him. I don't know.
So that's an odd choice.
Brother
Shadow? Something like that?
Well, look, right now he's not really in anybody's shadow.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying. It's like,
yeah,
not wanting to be in the brother's shadow, so went somewhere new. But Gator Nation, I mean, it's a great stadium. They have a great program too. I just haven't heard anything good out of there, man. Maybe they're hiding stuff. I would love them to come out and blow the doors off Utah, but it's not going to happen. It's going to be a good game.
I think it's going to happen.
Good game for Utah fans.
The game could be Utah 31, Florida 30, or it could be Utah 31, Florida 3. And Billy Napier's Heat, it's going to be the same no matter what. Like, it literally does not matter.
I mean, heck, what if Florida lost the same way that they won last year? That would be ironic.
That would be crazy.
Didn't they lose on a failed 2-point conversion?
No, Florida won last year.
No, that's what I'm saying. Utah lost on a failed 2-point conversion.
Well, Florida won by 3. It's 29-26.
I'm misremembering how this game went down.
Yeah, I can't remember how it ended. All right, another game happening on Thursday that I think is massive is Minnesota versus Nebraska. Now, I think there's a little bit of pressure on PJ Fleck. I don't think there's a lot because the guy has won 9 games.
That man is classy.
3 out of the past 4 years.
Keep chopping wood or rowing the boat or whatever you do over there.
I think they row the boat. Yeah,
little sweater vest or whatever he's got.
Somebody else is chop wood. Who's chop wood?
That's Rutgers. Giano or something. Yeah.
Greg Chana. Okay, interesting.
So the chop wood guy.
Minnesota opens as a 7.5-point favorite against Nebraska. If Minnesota drops the game, again, there may not be pressure on PJ Fleck right now, but the schedule gets really tough, and I think it jeopardizes whether or not they make a bowl. But then if you're Minnesota and you drop or if you're Nebraska and you drop another close game with why am I breaking up? Matt Rhule is your new head coach. I think you're going to question that, and you definitely want to see the offense at least take a few steps forward from what you were getting under Scott Frost. I think it's an interesting game because I would love to see Nebraska return to being one of the hallmark programs in college football. They used to be, just glamorous and like heart of the Midwest. I mean, just really, really fun program. Their stadium is amazing, and they've been terrible for about a decade. And so is Matt Rhule the one to fix it? And I don't know that he is, but I think you're very hopeful going into week 1 that you go into Minnesota and pull off an upset. And this Minnesota offense, it's not great. They got a lot of players to replace on that offense. Ibrahim is gone. Taylor Morgan is gone. A lot of people to replace on that offense. So I think that's a really interesting game on Thursday night, Ben. If the Utah Florida game gets ugly, this will be one that I think will go down into the fourth quarter.
That'll be interesting. Matt Rule and Nebraska have a lot of high expectations. Lots of good news. The same way that nothing good comes out of Florida and Billy Napier. Great news coming out of Nebraska with Matt Rule there. Everyone's stoked. So will be a good game to watch.
I'll tell you another great game. It's going to happen on Friday night is Missouri State and Kansas.
Okay.
That was a joke.
I was going to say, I was like, the best game on Friday is the Miami Bowl.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Miami of Ohio and Miami, Florida. That is interesting. Oh, my God. Man, if Miami of Ohio goes into Miami and beats them, do you let Mario Cristobal back into the stadium?
You do, because his buyout is astronomical.
I don't care. I don't care what the buyout is. if he loses to Miami of Ohio, he should be sued for the total buyout and every dime they've ever paid him, plus more for losses and damages. Right. Saturday, ODU plays Virginia Tech. Ben, this is crazy to me.
Go Chanticleers.
Virginia Tech is a 16-point favorite.
Not gonna happen.
You would take ODU to cover 16.
Absolutely, I would.
I would stay the heck away from that line, but I would certainly not bet Virginia Tech to cover 16. All right.
Taking ODU to cover. Another game. Another
interesting line. TCU.
Oh, that's my next game. Yes.
Okay. At home against Colorado, big noon kickoff.
Yep.
And TCU is a 21-point favorite.
Yeah. So look for Colorado to cover that game. Look for Colorado to potentially upset the runner-up at the national championship.
Ooh!
Look at it.
TCU
has some holes to fill, and Colorado just basically, if you don't fire players, cut the whole team and brought in a new team, look for some excitement in that game. Colorado's going to come to play.
Hold on a second.
Whole team's gone.
Just my tie.
Brand new team.
I look good. Okay. I'm about to light up Ben's butt here. Would say something else, but I can't. Benjamin King. USC brought in all these transfers last year.
Yeah,
and they went from crap to great.
Yeah.
One of those transfers was Caleb Williams, and Caleb Williams doesn't play for Colorado.
Yeah, but Deion Sanders' kid does.
Shedeur Sanders, yeah, who's going from playing quarterback at Jackson State.
Yeah, and crushing it, undefeated.
At Jackson State. So he's playing against North Carolina Central. He was playing against North Carolina A&T, South Carolina A&M, I think it is. Is that it?
I hate him for being a winner.
South Carolina State, the Bulldogs, who got crushed by Jackson State yesterday, by the way. Absolutely destroyed. And now he's going to play against Sonny Dykes in TCU. I don't think there's any way Colorado makes that a competitive game. I'm going to take TCU. I'm telling you right now, Ben, I will wager real money on this with you. TCU is going to win that game 45-10.
All right. I like it.
45-10. That
Colorado
game will
covers.
Not be close.
Colorado covers. I'm not going to pick them to win, but I could see it happening. And it would be amazing for TCU to come off a national title berth and lose their first game of the season. I would love it.
All right. Let's take another interesting game. I gotta find one first. Right now I'm getting Towson and Maryland.
How bad is Liberty going to beat Bowling Green?
Ooh, let's talk some Liberty football playing against Bowling Green. Liberty still hasn't named their starting quarterback yet, which I thought they were supposed to do that. They still not done that. Liberty's a 10-point favorite against Bowling Green.
Yep.
Yeah, they still haven't named their starting quarterbacks. I have no idea what we're going to see at Liberty. Honestly, I just think it totally depends on quarterback play. Jonathan Bennett likes to throw it to the other team. Caden Salter likes to put the ball on the ground. Trey Lowe is the best fit for the offense, but he comes over from Southern Miss. I have no idea what you're getting from the quarterback position. Just absolutely none. I think Jamie Chadwell is a great coach. Liberty has, I think, 8 returning starters total. I think something like that. I think Liberty wins. I don't think it's going to be like a slaughter. I think it's going to be like, I'll go 27-20. Liberty wins. I would not bet them to cover. Yeah, 8 returning starters. I know very little about Bowling Green. Just going to be honest with you. I've done a lot of research in college football this year. I've not done an in-depth analysis of the Bowling Green Falcons.
Flame on. Liberty took Coastal Carolina's coach, who took Coastal Carolina to an undefeated season, almost undefeated, something like that.
I think right. Bowling Green went 6-7 last year.
Yeah, look for Liberty to
crush. Do you know who their coach is?
At Bowling Green? I do not.
Scott Loeffler.
What? Okay. Pick for Liberty to cover and just obliterate.
The one thing Ben and all Virginia Tech fans can agree on, their hatred for Scott Loeffler.
So Liberty's new coach came from Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina goes on the road to play UCLA in Pac-12 After Dark. Look, can you explain to me why the best game of week 1 is on a Sunday?
LSU and Florida State?
Yeah.
Because there's no NFL on that Sunday. It's a great Sunday night game.
It's an incredible Sunday night game.
Yeah.
It'd be a great Saturday night game.
Well, yeah. But Monday's Labor Day, Ben.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sure enough.
You forget about Labor Day. This is why.
I have the day off.
This is why. Ben just realized he had a day off. Ben is completing his work schedule during the podcast.
There we go.
So this is why we should play bowls at the beginning of the season, because you 100%. Have that day off. That game is in Orlando,
these games kind of
Florida.
suck.
What's that?
And most of these games kind of suck.
A lot of these games are going to suck. But imagine if like Auburn was playing like Texas Tech in the Cotton Bowl. Now, can you travel to Dallas, Texas on December 30th? Maybe. Probably not.
I want to.
Can you do it Labor Day weekend?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. The extra day off. Labor Day weekend, I mean, a lot of people travel anyways. Like, you can absolutely make sense of that. Okay. I can't get off on that tangent again. All right, let's talk about the game I'm going to be at. UNC at South Carolina. UNC is a 2.5-point favorite. I will be there. I'm going to College Game Day that morning. I will be repping Liberty apparel at College Game Day. And I bought a South Carolina shirt specifically for this game, which will be worn over a Duke shirt in case South Carolina starts losing. And then that will come out to
play. So 3 college teams at College Game Day.
1 at College Game Day. 2 at the game.
Very nice.
So, like, I don't know what to do with South Carolina this year, Ben. And we talked about them a little bit in our SEC preview.
Spencer Rattler's going to crush.
Spencer Rattler's great. I'm worried about the defense.
They'll just outscore them. USC style. Hey, the USC of the East Coast and the USC of the West Coast, same offensive games plan strategy. Like
South
out
Carolina,
there.
the original USC.
Go out there and score. How are they the original USC?
They're the original USC. Don't question me on this, Ben.
Southern Cal has got to be like older than University of South Carolina.
Last I checked, South Carolina was a colony, and California wasn't founded until later.
But last time I checked, they didn't start university programs until late 1800s. So that was well after California was a state.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, we're doing this.
We are doing this. No, I'm finding this.
When I type in USC, it pulls up Southern Cal. Just saying that.
Okay.
Google knows what's up.
I don't care what happened when you type in USC. Okay. South Carolina was founded in 1801. USC, Southern Cal, was founded in 1880. The original USC is South Carolina, not Southern Cal. Point
My
for
hat's
CJ.
off to you, sir.
Thank you.
That is a point. I can't believe that.
So I think this game, Ben, I think the better offense is UNC.
Okay.
But UNC's defense was absolutely putrid last year. Appalachian State put up 61 on them. Appalachian State. Georgia State put up 28 on them. Notre Dame, who they've got an offense this year. They didn't have one last year, put up 45 on them. Virginia Tech did score 10. Whatever. Duke scored 35. UVA scored 28. Wake Forest scored 34. NC State scored 30. Clemson scored 39. If UNC had any remnants of a defense, they probably would have won the ACC last year, but they didn't. South Carolina, I think their offense is really good. I think Spencer Rattler is amazing, but I think South Carolina is a more well-rounded team, and I think Shane Beamer is just a really, really good coach. Not that Mac Brown isn't, but I think South Carolina is going to pull off a win against UNC Saturday. I think it'll be really close. I think it's going to be like 38-35, but I think South Carolina wins that game.
I'm right there with you, man. Spencer Rattler ended the season on fire. Little baby Beamer, he's got a program built over there in wherever South Carolina plays.
Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, South Carolina.
In Columbia, South Carolina. And look out, UNC, who has a bunch of really good coaches, but are going to get blown off the ball.
So
when they take on the Chickens in the Duke Mayo Bowl.
If South Carolina loses that game, Ben, their season could get off to a really rough start because they're going to open with North Carolina. Then next week they play Furman, so that's a win. Then they're going to play Georgia at Georgia, Mississippi State at home, and at Tennessee. It's extremely possible South Carolina, the real USC, opens the year 1-4. And then they're spending the second half of the year fighting to get to a bowl.
That'd be tough. When does Virginia Tech come after Baby Beamer?
They aren't.
Are they
Baby
stupid?
Beamer? Why would Baby Beamer go there? He doesn't want to go there.
They'll build a statue of him and his dad next to each other, holding hands.
Who cares? He's going to build his own thing in South Carolina. All right. In South Carolina, could build a better statue. Just saying. All right. Sunday, September 3rd, LSU plays Florida State. This is going to be the game of the week. LSU is a 2.5 point favorite. I don't know, Ben. That's an interesting game.
That is an interesting game.
I think LSU wins it.
I think so too. They have the upper edge. They have Brian Kelly and basically the state of Louisiana and all the talent that exists there under wraps. And look, FSU is going to be really good this year. LSU is probably just going to be better.
I'll tell you this too. I don't know how much motivation plays into anything in college football, but if it does, I think Notre Dame made a point yesterday. They could very legitimately get into the playoff if we get to the end of the year and Notre Dame is in the playoff and LSU is not. What does that say about Brian Kelly, who I think is an amazing coach? But Ben, people constantly question his ability to win championships. There's some weird, I don't really know what to compare it to. Just people think he's limited or whatever. But if he does the playoff and Marcus Freeman takes Notre Dame there, Brian Kelly's old team, are there going to be questions that come up about Brian Kelly again? And if you're going to get to the playoff, well, look, you got to play at Ole Miss. You're going to have to play at Alabama. You have to end the year with Texas A&M. And then potentially playing the SEC championship game. You can't lose to Florida State opening week and get to the playoff.
Yeah. It's gonna be a heck of a game. Two teams in, what are they ranked? Top 6?
LSU's ranked 5th. Florida State is 8th.
So top 10 teams, 5 and 8, taking on each other, and playoff hopes on the line in week 1 on a Sunday night. So I think you're right that LSU has more to lose because they do have to play Alabama later in the season, and the hopefulness of their ability to make it really depends on being undefeated up to that point. The Florida State team, they want to go undefeated this year, of course. But if they lost to LSU, it wouldn't mean as much because they still have to just get past Clemson and they're in.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. LSU has to win this for Brian Kelly's sake and for their playoff hopes to stay alive. Otherwise, it's like, well.
Look, I like Florida State. I do.
Me too.
I think a lot of the hype around them, though, I don't think they're as good as they've been hyped to be. Like they won 10 games last year, Ben, which is great. But this is Mike Norvell's 4th year here, and he did have to rebuild it. I get it. But like, remember Dabo at Clemson? Like when he had his first 10-win season, and then every year for like the next 4 years, everybody kept saying, "Oh, Clemson's going to win the championship. They're like a championship team. They're top 2, top 3." And they never could take that extra step. They always would end the year 10-2. And then finally they did. It takes time to get there. It's not just like an overnight thing. Like, can you overnight pull a TCU? Sure, but then you get clobbered in the championship game 65-7.
And you lose to Colorado the opening next year.
No, you don't. You still crush Colorado. So, but I don't think Florida State is taking that next step this year. And I think LSU, because it's Brian Kelly, who has 20 years of experience, I think LSU is going to pound Florida State opening week. I think it's going to be like 35-20. LSU wins it. And I think Florida State's going to be really backs against the wall with Clemson in a couple weeks. Doesn't mean they have to win it, but if goodness though, if you lose it, Ben, then that game at Clemson becomes massive. Because if you start off the year 2-2, you're not getting into the playoff. You're out.
Yeah. I mean, that the game with Clemson is the championship game, basically. So that is already a massive game.
Yeah. Now, if they beat LSU, you can lose to, like, the Clemson game almost doesn't matter Because regardless, you're going to play Clemson again in the ACC championship game, and you have to beat them that game. Mm-hmm. So beating them in week 4 doesn't mean anything. I'd almost rest my starters. Like I wouldn't, but I'm saying like I almost would. Like it's that meaningless if they can beat LSU.
Okay.
All right. Any other week 1 thoughts? Clemson plays Duke on Monday.
There you go. Look out. Look out. Tigers.
Listen,
Duke coming to town?
Duke. Well, it's at Duke.
Oh.
No, Duke has no home field advantage. That's going to be a 70% Clemson crowd. Guaranteed.
Paint the blue stadium orange?
Yeah. That will be brutal. Yeah. No, the Duke students, they wear like these glow in the dark like horns on their head to make it look like there's a lot more of them than there are.
Okay. I mean, it's 8 p.m. on a Monday.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be an interesting game.
Why aren't you going to that one? It's like right up the road from where you're going to be in Columbia.
I'm not going to Columbia. The South Carolina game is in Charlotte. Duke is on the other side of the state. And also I'm going with my dad, my brother, 2 mentors of mine, and one of the mentors is bringing this kid. It'll be a fun time. It'll be a good day. Yeah.
It'll be good. And you got to work on Tuesday, so you know.
Well, that was the other thing is it's like I wanted to go to that game, but it starts at 8. It doesn't end until like 11:30, and then Durham's a 2.5-hour drive back here. So I can't do that on Monday night. Yeah. Can't do it on Monday night. All right. Any other closing thoughts here, Ben?
College football's back.
What?
Here we go. College football's back.
Okay, that is not what
Week 1.
Thought you said.
Week 1 has begun.
It hasn't begun yet. It begins Thursday. Week 0.
We are in week 1. Yesterday. Sunday is the start of the week. We are now in week 1.
Is Sunday the start of a calendar week in college football? I would think Monday starts the calendar week in college football.
We're doing a week recap.
Okay.
At the beginning of the week. We had to let the week end before we could recap it.
I don't know that that's true. If somebody is listening to this, please settle this bet for us. Does week 1 of college football begin today? Or does it begin?
Open up your calendar.
No, I'm not arguing with you about what day of the week is the first day of the week. I'm arguing with you about in the college football calendar, does today start week 1? Hold on.
Well, according to ESPN, week 1 started this past, was it Saturday? Yeah. On Saturday.
ESPN.
So yesterday. So even though yesterday is technically week 0, ESPN counts yesterday as week 1. So week 1 in college football may last through Monday, which would mean it is, how many days is that? 10 days long? Week 1 is 10 days, according to ESPN.
Yeah, they're wrong. All right. On that note, I'm going to end the podcast before we keep going on that because I can't even handle that. Been with the eyebrows. This has been another episode, another exposure to the Fourth String Podcast. You are welcome. Have a good night.